Today's story was written by Reddit user FarmWitch4275. Have you ever heard of a rare but non-lethal, depending on your viewpoint, thing known as spontaneous shock-mutation syndrome? You probably have. It's a very specific disease that affects individuals on a case-by-case basis, and there is no cure. What causes it? Humans. Specifically the things humans do sometimes. Any species that has had an encounter with them has had this happen to at least one or many members of their kind, either once, several times, or across an entire generation. Spontaneous shock mutation occurs when a human, any human really, does a thing that is mind-meltingly stupid, a thing that is shockingly awful or evil, a thing that is of little more than sheer brilliance, an act of heroism or an act of rage. That thing causes those who witness it to suffer a spontaneous genetic mutation where they stand. The title of this affliction pretty much explains exactly what it is, really. A situation of such incredible trauma or wonder, your body spontaneously mutates in order to properly express that trauma or wonder. Let us go for some examples. The Thracus species, a race of bipedal lizards that were engaged in a bitter, merciless war against the hive swarm. Humanity offered its assistance against the horde, and that by itself was not surprising. The Thracus admiral was on the bridge of a human warship, explaining the casualties of war his people faced to cleanse one world of the swarm. The admiral explained to the human that once a world was taken, it was forever lost. It took too many deaths to reclaim a world. The humans let loose the dogs of war, and unleashed upon this lost world their arsenal of nuclear weaponry. The sight caused the admiral to spontaneously change the colour of his scales to a ghostly white. His tongue, his face, his eyes, even his black chitin claws changed to a deathly snowy white. He looked like a ghost. When he came home, everyone thought he was a ghost. No, the shock just literally turned him white. The Jatai species, a race of quadrupedal insectoids. One such member was having a conversation about human history, and the human explained it to him. To a Jatai, war was not a thing unknown, so human war history was a subject as yet uncared for. Until now. The human ambassador handed a Jatai ambassador a picture book, full of atrocities committed by humans against other humans. This ambassador, once again, an insectoid species covered in chitin, began to mutate by suddenly growing hair that instantly turned grey. He looked less like an insectoid warrior and more like a fungus-infested sheep when he got home. It took 6 weeks for the hair to eventually stop growing, but now this particular individual has a permanent grey beard. The Kasarani species, a race of serpentine creatures with a snake-like body and 2 arms. A Kasarani guardsman was at a shopping mall of sorts where a human tourist, who was incredibly drunk, began to talk to him. It is unknown what the human said at the time, but apparently it was incredibly stupid. The Kasarani race are a race of devout duty and honour-bound warriors that never waver from their purpose. This one was set to guard the mall, only moving from his spot on encountering an enemy for days on end. This human said a stupid of such monumental proportions that the Kasarani soldier spontaneously grew a 3rd arm, just so he could facepalm at what the human just said. A 3rd arm grown out of his right side, slapping himself in the face, completely unbelieving that someone, anyone, could have said that. The sight of this occurrence sobered that human up pretty damn quick, and the soldier immediately began to panic as he realised he now had a 3rd arm. The Yutai, a species of large, elephant-sized diplomats and philosophers from a farm world that look a bit like oversized lions with trunks. Their massive size makes them intimidating, and few would cross them, not only for their diplomatic status, but also for the fact they can squish you. Enter a human legionnaire. A genetically engineered, cybernetically augmented super soldier from the human military, a training exercise held by the UTI. In this context, the UTI were facing a combat trial for a new regiment. Humanity sent one of their best to assist. It was supposed to be a joint battle against an automated defense network that would last several days. It lasted 20 minutes. Q, the Legionnaire, charging into battle head first, tanking several pulse cannon tower shots, punching through a wall and destroying the first command center point with nothing but a pistol, followed by an automated counterattack failing as he hijacked a tank, ripping its turret off and using it as his own gun, single-handedly wiping out the assault. The rest of the battle was called off. The entire regiment suddenly gained a bow and an anus, and then simultaneously shut themselves, then immediately lost that same bow moments after the battle was over. They mutated the capacity of waste production, just so they could use it once out of shock, then lose it again. That entire regiment was rendered inoperable for about 1 human year due to the event. And the UTI now have humanity's military as its main bulwark. The Serenai, a species of bipedal apes with 4 arms. Hailing from a Class 1 death world, this species is well known for its warrior-like and survival of the fittest mentality, and its renowned combat arenas. During a heated diplomatic sparring match, the Serenai foolishly insulted and challenged a human soldier to a contest of strength. This human soldier was one of humanity's deadliest weapons, the Scion. A Scion is an extremely rare creature that humans possess. A human extremely attuned to the psionic maelstrom of the mind. On entering the combat area, the Serenai warrior attacked, charging at the human at full speed before suddenly dropping to his knees. He emitted an ear-piercing scream of horrified terror. Then his normally brown fur suddenly turned a ghastly pink. He also seemingly gained the ability to jump real good, as he leapt out of the 20-story arena and vanished for several weeks. The human gave passing side-eye glances at the people in the arena, then created psionic hands that slapped everyone around him once. He then calmly walked away. The arena burst into absolute panic, and the Serenai no longer saw humanity as a feasible challenge. It is a simple affliction, and one without cure. An easy way to avoid it is simply, when around a human, expect the unexpected, and don't be surprised. If you are surprised, we would like to remind you that humanity as a species is not liable for any sudden growth of secondary sexual organs or spontaneous changing of physical matter, for any reason.